All right, we have a lot to talk about today, and we are going to lead off with nothing other than tariffs. And obviously, the Liberation Day tariffs that Trump had just levied the other day. Let's talk about some of the effects that we could be seeing in terms of what products are going to be the most affected. Um, you know, how much this could cost, how much extra this would cost the average US family household a year. So, this is from CNN. President Donald Trump on Wednesday launched a U.S. trade war with every country via a barrage of tariffs that are set to go into effect almost immediately. American consumers and businesses stand to pay a hefty price for the battle. For the first time since Trump's return to the Oval Office, it's not a question of what could get more expensive due to tariffs, but rather a matter of when. And the short answer to what could get expensive is, well, everything. And that's true. Like, literally everything. Because as we pointed out in the past, and many others, like, let's say you do buy something that is manufactured in the US. Well, chances are, especially for cars, there's a good chance it uses foreign parts, and those foreign parts are now tariffed. So prices are going to rise anyways. And then you have a sense of almost like kind of just natural greed. And I've seen economists talk about this a lot. So you're going to have the prices obviously increase on all of these foreign goods. We're going to use cars, for example. That is then going to give an excuse for American companies, Ford, to raise their prices due. It's capitalism. Like, you think that when every other car on the market is going to rise in price, that they're just going to chill and not raise prices? And then, like, if you look at this in the long term, let's say Trump backs off on the tariffs, or we deal with these tariffs for years and then someone else backs off of them, the goods aren't just going to go back down to their pre-tariff prices in majority of cases. I'm sorry, they don't. But historically, when prices rise, they don't really go back down. Okay? I mean, in most cases, they could go back down, but we live in a very greedy capitalist society, so it is very unlikely. Anyways, assuming Trump proceeds with the plans he laid out on Wednesday, and he has said there is no room for negotiation, only certain goods from Mexico and Canada have a shot at avoiding any tariffs. Otherwise, all countries' goods will be subject to a minimum 10% tariff, with rates going much higher for 60 countries the administration deems as the worst offenders in terms of trade barriers. At the very top of the list is China. Come April 9th, the U.S. will impose a 54% tariff on nearly everything coming from China, and rates go even higher to 79%. If Trump follows through with his promise to slap an additional 25% tariff on any nation that buys oil from Venezuela, which China has done. And then starting on May 2nd, the 54% tariff will also be applied to packages worth less than $800 to the U.S. from China and Hong Kong. Think Shein, Temu, AliExpress. Yeah. In total, the average American household will pay $2,100 more per year for goods because of the tariffs, the Nonpartisan Tax Foundation estimated. The worst offenders. The United States imported $439 billion worth of goods from China last year, the second top source of imports behind Mexico. Among the other worst offenders that the U.S. heavily relies on for imported goods are Vietnam, which will face an across-the-board 46% tariff, and Taiwan, which will be subjected to a 32% tariff. It's crazy that we're supposedly taking such an anti-China stance here, especially in regards to tariffs, but yet we're tariffing the literal shit out of Taiwan, which is a very, from the eyes of the U.S., a very important strategic asset in the fight against China and the containment against China. So, like, it just doesn't make sense. Not to mention that we get all of our, like, not all, but a lot of our semiconductors from there. Now, Biden did start the process of moving manufacturing over here with the CHIPS Act. But, yeah, like I said, you can't just throw tariffs on something and expect factories to pop up overnight. You can't expect the infrastructure for us to have a manufacturing boom just appear overnight. That takes years and years and years. And until that time, everyone has to pay the price. And if that time even gets here, because we're already seeing layoffs and the dollar is crumbling against the euro, it's like we're just not in a good position right now. And honestly, I just don't know where we go from here. Um, like we are a consumer economy. The Not only is Trump putting like tariffs that like his reciprocal tariffs, like they aren't even matching the actual tariffs that these countries have put on us. He's like taken the trade deficit we had and divided it and basically said that's the tariff, which makes no sense at all. And so you really got to think we are a consumer economy. We are a giant economy. We are the largest economy. It's very hard for a country to actually have, for us to actually have like a trade surplus. Okay. When we are buying minerals from some African country that we don't have here, and we're buying billions of dollars of minerals, of course we're going to have a trade deficit because they don't have the economic power to just, import billions of our goods or even the need. Like, this is such a complex system that he's just taking an axe to with no forethought. Like, I am not against tariffs. I'm against stupid tariffs, and these are stupid tariffs. You have to apply tariffs strategically. You have to make sure you are, planning to have the industry and the infrastructure to back it up. You don't just take an axe to everything and be like, okay, good luck. I mean, that's pretty much been their entire motto of this administration in terms of like the country, like taking an axe to every government agency in sight and just being like, good luck. You're more efficient now. All right. Vietnam was I read this, was the sixth top source of goods the U.S. imported last year, and Taiwan was the eighth, according to U.S. Census Bureau data. Since tariffs are a tax on imported goods, it's an American business that will have to foot the bill initially when goods from these countries reach the U.S. So yeah, when goods come here, it's the person, the company, the business importing the goods that pays the tax. It's not the country exporting them here. And so the company here pays that import tax, that tariff, and they have to pass that cost somewhere unless they're willing to take and eat it in their profit margin. And that is highly, highly unlikely. Even if more production shifts to the U.S., where Trump has reportedly said tariffs are zero, it can cost more to produce the same goods that were purchased from abroad, which could lead to price hikes. Having said that, here's what has the potential to get the most expensive from the new round of tariffs. Laptops and tablets. China, Vietnam, and Taiwan were the top three foreign suppliers of laptops and tablets to the U.S. last year, shipping a total of $47.2 billion worth, according to federal trade data. Almost all consumer electronics, including smartphones and consumer monitors, are likely to see price increases. Additionally, the U.S. relies heavily on Taiwan for semiconductors. U.S. consumers are likely to see a price hike on laptops, cars, household appliances, medical devices, Wi-Fi routers, and LED light bulbs. And these products often don't just require one or two chips. New cars contain thousands of them. So yeah, and like we live in a smart technology world. Like your fridge is smart, your oven's probably smart. Like everything has some sort of technology in it that requires these semiconductors to function. Like everything, like almost everything we use now. So that's just one asset. And remember, these are tariffs broadly placed on just everything. Trump floated a separate 25% semiconductor tariff, but a fact sheet from the White House put out on Wednesday said such tariffs won't come on top of the reciprocal tariffs that were announced. Ed Britzwa, vice president of the International Trade at the Consumer Technology Association, told CNN it will likely take 3 to 4 months for current retail inventories to dry up, at which point consumers could start to see prices go up just in time for back-to-school shopping season and holidays. I imagine we'll see prices go up much quicker than that. China and Vietnam shipped a combined $18.5 billion worth of shoes to the U.S. last year. That's nearly 70% of all shoes the U.S. imported. So shoes, footwear, more expensive toys. China and Vietnam were the top two sources of foreign toys sent to the U.S. last year, shipping a total of $15 billion worth. The Toy Association estimates that 77% of all toys sold in the U.S. are manufactured in China alone. It's just not an industry that is built to be able to manage through a tariff of that magnitude. Greg Ahern, president and CEO of the trade group, told CNN, referring to the soon-to-be 54% tariff on Chinese goods. American consumers, he said, likely won't start seeing higher prices until late summer, when new products are typically rolled out ahead of back-to-school period and shipped along with staple toys. So, like, I could be wrong on this. But I feel like the prices are going to be pretty immediate, because it's not like these companies are going to wait until they run out of stock until they start charging higher prices. You know what I mean? They're going to start charging now. That's just normally how it works. Because the profit margins on toys tend to be fairly slim, toy companies have little ability to absorb much higher costs. From tariffs, he said, all more so with 54% tariffs. Toys made in China are sold in the U.S. He estimates will cost consumers at least 30% more than they currently do. Clothing. If you want a sense of just how much apparel the U.S. imports, look no further than the tags on your clothing. If you're seeing a lot of China and Vietnam printed, rest assured you're not alone. Both shipped about $14 billion worth of apparel to the U.S. last year, the top two sources of foreign-made clothes. On top of which, other sources of foreign apparel, Bangladesh, Indonesia, and Cambodia, are also being hit with reciprocal tariffs ranging from 26 to 49%. The Trump tariffs will have substantial impact on the fashion industry. Stephanie Gozens, a spokesperson for the U.S. Fashion Industry Association, told CNN. Gozens didn't provide CNN with estimates on how much Americans could stand to pay for clothing. And real quick, I was mainly focused on like our Asian trade, mainly China, Taiwan. This is kind of a quick look of our EU trade. I'm not going to read over all this, but feel free to pause and kind of look at this information. This is how much, we import, they export. So goods that we primarily export from the EU is medicinal and pharmaceutical products, road vehicles, and general industry machinery and equipment. So anything in that category, prices are going to go up. And obviously we do export to the EU. I mean, there's talk in some EU countries saying, like, we're not going to import any U.S. goods. So this is just is so unnecessary, and it's going to be very devastating. And yeah, I honestly don't know how this plays out. I have no idea what's going to happen. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below, and I will see you in the next one. If you made it to this point in the video, I just want to give a special thank you. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button down below. And if you really enjoyed it, maybe consider hitting that subscribe button while you're down there. I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section. I will try to reply to any and all comments that I can. Until next time, watch that video on screen.